Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. And this Sunday, November 1st, at the Hilton Hotel in Troy, it's the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And this event, Levack, is going to honor great players of the past. Going to have a lot of stars in town this Sunday, including the man joining us right now, Ken Singleton, formerly drafted by the Mets, now with the Yes Network. And in between all of that, won a World Series with the Orioles. Ken, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Ken, we're great, man. Yeah. Game 1 of the World Series is tonight. Are you kidding me? And the Mets are in it. Ken, the Mets are in the World Series. What are your emotions of seeing the team that drafted you be in the World Series tonight?
Well, number one, I think they had a fantastic year. They've gotten to this point, one of two teams left standing, and it should be a very entertaining World Series. I believe that the two best teams are in it. Kansas City is certainly, they have memories from last year, getting to the 7th game and not making it. I always feel that teams that come very close and have a chance to do it the next year, they have unfinished business, and they become very, very difficult to deal with.
Ken, when you look at the fact that the Mets go out there at the trade deadline, bring in Uribe, Clipper, Johnson, and, of course, Cespedes, and they make the big moves in New York instead of the Yankees. What do you think, what do you think of that, the fact that this team that we all thought wouldn't do anything went out and made it happen?
Well, they did make the moves that paid off. Toronto made some moves that got them deep into the playoffs as well. The Yankees decided to rely on some of the younger players coming up, like Greg Bird and Luis Severino, Rob Refsnyder. They all made contributions, just not good enough to get them deep into the playoffs. But maybe in the long run, they will help them get to the playoffs and then deep into them in the future.
Ken, were you surprised the Mets ownership did that the Mets ownership spent the money, made it happen?
Well, actually, they may trade,
right,
and spending the money will come later if they decide to keep some of these guys.
Fair.
Particularly Cespedes. So that remains to be seen. Right now, they're making money because they're in the postseason at postseason prices, and I'm sure that they're very happy about where they are. And they did go out and make the trades. They traded some prospects and got some good players.
Ken Singleton of the Yes Network will be in town this Sunday for the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, joining us now. You were a DH towards the end of your career. What does the DH factor do to the Mets in the World Series?
Well, it's going to be an interesting situation considering the fact that they get to use the DH in 4 games if it goes 7. To me, American League teams are built differently than National League teams. National League teams' bench has to be a little bit deeper because they use their bench players a little bit more because of the fact there's much more pinch hitting in the National League. Being a DH at first, when I became one, I didn't think I would like it, but I realized that those jobs usually go to veteran players who are making decent money, and that's the reason why the Players Association is not going to give up the DH spot. Hopefully, one day the National League will, move over to and get in with the DH because they're the only league that doesn't use it. So I would think that in the future maybe we will see the DH become uniform throughout baseball, but at this point that's not the case. To a National League team, they're going to plug in one of their hitters who maybe has some experience. Cespedes is a pretty good defender. I don't know if it'll be him, but he's been dealing with a sore shoulder, so maybe they will use him in the DH spot.
Ken, when you look at the fact you already alluded to this, do you think the Royals will be a tough out because they've been there before? Who do you think actually does win the World Series this year?
I'm going to lean towards the Royals, but I think it's going to be a very entertaining series with 6 or 7 games because the Mets starting pitchers are that good, and they are on a roll as well. I think they are the type of pitchers that can take you deep into ball games, and they can be very entertaining in doing so with a lot of power pitching. Although, when you look at the Royals lineup, this is the team that seems to be least effective by pitchers who throw hard. And in fact, they are a very good fastball hitting team. They foul off a lot of pitches, put on good at-bats. And this is just not a few hitters in their lineup. It seems to be just about everybody. Now, this is the team that struck out the fewest of all major league teams. So that they are very difficult and put difficult at-bats on pitchers. So they're going to make the Mets pitchers work. And that's one reason I'm leaning towards them, plus the fact they lost last year. And they want to get back and get on top this year. And they seem to be They've got a good defensive team. They've got everything working for them. So I'm going to lean towards the Royals a bit.
Game one of the World Series tonight right here on 104.5 The Team. Ken Singleton, former Mets draftee, and then he won a World Series with the Orioles. And now, Yes Network. Ken, we can see your great work when you're talking Yankees baseball. What are your expectations for the Yankees this offseason?
Well, I would think that they might be looking for pitchers like anybody else. The situation that bothered the Yankees more than anything else last year is that every one of their starting pitchers spent time on the disabled list, every one of them. So they're always looking to fill in somewhere, somehow. And one of the credos when I played for the Baltimore Orioles years ago was, when you think you have enough pitching, go out and get another pitcher. So I think the Yankees might be looking for a starter or two. Somebody could help them. Maybe one more guy in the bullpen. So I think that's what they need more than anything else. They do score runs. I mean, they were second in baseball in runs scored to the Toronto Blue Jays, albeit they were pretty far behind them, but they still can score.
Former three-time All-Star World Series champion Ken Singleton. He'll be in town this weekend for the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Go to NYSBHOF.com. You can be there. Tickets $75 per person. You can also give them a call, 518-877-5170 to get your tickets. Ken, what is the feeling of getting inducted this weekend into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame?
Well, it's quite an honor. I'm very thankful for the honor of being inducted. I'm coming up there with my youngest son, so we're going to have a great time. Going to see some of the other players who are going in. I know to be eligible, you have to be born in the state of New York, which it shows you the number of great players that have come out of the state that have now going into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. It should be quite an evening. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of the stories. And some of the guys that are going in are my contemporaries, that I've played against. So it should be some fun.
Yeah, you mentioned born and raised New Yorker, and you're right. The list of guys from the state, from the Empire State, it's a fun list this weekend of those being inducted. Ken Singleton, who we're talking to now, John Flaherty, Frank Viola, Dennis Leonard. The list goes on and on. NYSBHOF.com to get that complete list, to get ticket information as well. This Sunday, the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and you can be there. NYSBHOF.com. Ken, how do you watch the World Series? What's your spread like? Where do you watch it? How do you watch baseball?
Well, I'm going to be home at least here tonight, and I guess my youngest son's home. He's on a break from school, so he'll watch it with me. I don't know if my wife's going to watch much of the World Series.
I hear you.
At least it'll be the two of us, and if he's out with his friends, then I'll be watching by myself. But one thing I like to watch at the beginning, I like to see how pitchers get off in the ball game. How do they rely? Do they mix all their pitches in at the beginning? Do they show all of their stuff in the first few innings, or can they get by with just one or two pitches early? I think both these pitchers are capable of doing that, so they can give hitters a different look, second, maybe even third time through. Hopefully, the weather will be great during the World Series. I don't want to see any delays or anything like that. I mean, we are getting towards November, so that might be an issue.
Ken, Volquez has collapsed in the fifth or sixth inning in his last three postseason starts this year. How much of a concern do you think is that for the Royals?
If they had to leave by the sixth inning when Volquez comes out, they're usually pretty good. They're usually pretty solid that they're going to win that game once you get to their relievers. And they've kind of, in a way, set the tone for the rest of Major League Baseball with the way they set up their bullpen last year. And most teams now are looking for those hard throwers out of the bullpen that just shut down offenses from the sixth inning on.
Ken, have a great weekend. Thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. Enjoy Game 1 of the World Series.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the season as well, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.